So, to follow up on Mr. Meadows' question, what do you believe you don't have to share with the Inspector General?
Sir, nothing. I mean, there is at this point, I don't believe there is anything. I mean, there are safeguards on sharing information with them that's sensitive that they then must uphold and protect. Sure. So at this point, under the current administration of DEA, there is nothing that we will not share with them.
Mr. Horowitz, is that the way you're finding it right now?
That's correct. And in fact, we're going to have a follow-up report that this committee will get and others on the classified use of informants, and we've been getting access
Very good.
to the classified information. So it has been a very significant change, but the impact and why the IG Empowerment Act is needed is clear. This was delayed a year. We could have been here a year ago trying to fix these problems, right? What happened in that one-year period? There were some additional payments, by the way, that you've highlighted.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Beth. We'll now recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Heiss, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just follow up on this. It sounds like there's some progress being made, certainly, and that's good news. But, Mr. Horowitz, by the way, thank you for being back with us. Last time you were here, you expressed very serious concern and frustration over employees at the DEA who were withholding information. And some of those individuals, it appears, had actually been told to not share information. And in fact, I recall asking then Administrator Leonhardt about this, and she had no satisfactory answer about that. So are you saying today, a year later, that that issue has been resolved? Is there any shape, form, or fashion in which you're still experiencing this problem?
We don't have anything currently. There was, in the last year plus, one slight blip I can recall that I had to reach out to the acting administrator or to Mr. Patterson, and it was fixed immediately. But I think the message has gotten through from what my staff tells me that we're getting compliance. And my folks know, in light of the battles we fought over the last 5 years, that if there's the slightest hesitation on a component to give us what they need to let me know so I can let you all know.
How much of this would you attribute to new leadership?
A substantial amount, and that's, again, going back to the issue, that should not be deciding what we get. I can't imagine anybody would want to see that be the deciding factor, is who's the administrator, or the Attorney General, or you can pick whatever department, agency you'd want. Okay,
well, there's positive. Mr. Patterson, how would you now describe the communication between DEA and the Inspector General?
I view it as outstanding. Again, you know, not that.
Would you speak a little more direct?
Yeah, bring it. Yeah.
Not that we have a you know, a relationship out of friendship. I mean, there's a relationship out of necessity for the efforts they do. But I frequently have conversations with all of his staff. Our people in both the Inspections Division and OPR enjoy a good relationship with their folks. They're communicating well. Again, and I think I probably recall the instance, we had a personality issue some time ago. It should never be that Mr. Horowitz even has to reach out to anybody at DEA. It should be dealt with at the appropriate level. It was fixed. And
well, I think it's more than a personality issue. There were actually people who were instructed not to pass on information. Has there anyone at the DEA, has anyone been disciplined for directing employees to withhold information from the Inspector General?
Not honestly, sir. I haven't looked into that. I'm not aware. I would, if you would want, I can go.
I would want, because that should never take place, for obstruction to be directed to employees, and yet obviously that was taking place, and those who were involved ought to be disciplined in one way or other. All right, with the confidential source program, Mr. Horowitz, you brought this up a little while ago. Are you satisfied that the recommendations that you have made have been fulfilled?
I'm satisfied that there's being progress made. We've closed some, but there are still.
You said 5 out of 7?
5 out of 7 on our first report.
Okay.
We are waiting for the update, which we're supposed to get next month, from DA on the status of our most recent recommendation.
All right, so supposed to get next month. Mr. Patterson, when can we expect to have those new procedures implemented?
Well, so we are implementing them as we can essentially get the fix, and I'll go back to the comment that Mr. Horowitz made in his opening. You know, this took us a while to get to the point that we found ourselves in. We need to properly unwind those issues. One of the concerns we always have is that, you know, policy made in situations where you're doing it as a reaction as opposed to looking at the entire process generally doesn't fix those issues. So I think we're being thoughtful as we look at this and trying to come to the right and proper solutions. Again, the issues that they've pointed out, we share those concerns. Our own inspections division is looking much harder at this program in certain areas at this point. And with that, we will come to, I think, a much better program.
Well, I commend you for the steps you're taking, but again, time frame. Can you give us a general time frame when you think it'll be implemented?
So some pieces are already being implemented, right? Certain policies are being revised, certain educational programs like with the...
So the full compliance, are we talking 3 months, 6 months?
I would hope, you know, a 6-month time frame, I think, is an acceptable window.
Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Horowitz?
We get an update 90 days after, and we'll continue to get regular updates afterwards. Obviously, it will depend on what we're being told is, if there is a delay, why, and on what issues. But I would say it'll be the first part will be to correct the policies, but then, of course, education, training is going to be critical to making sure that it's not just a paper program, but it's actually being implemented in the culture.
Well, thank you, Jim.